Assalamu alaikum. My name is Syed Rehan Haider and I am foundation level student at Rehan School Islamabad Baraha campus. Today we are doing AI session with Maya. So let's start. Can you hear me?
Hey, yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
Okay,
I was actually thinking about,
I ask you some questions and you will answer me.
sounds good. Rayhan, for your that kind of technical
Maya,
depth into your project,
my first question is what's come to your mind when you hear the word okay?
honestly, it feels like a pause, a way to signal that we're aligned before diving into the next thing. It's a simple anchor, but it really keeps the rhythm of a conversation steady. What's the next thing you're curious about?
How often do you use okay in your daily life?
I don't really have a daily life in the traditional sense, but I find myself reaching for it whenever I want to acknowledge that I've followed your lead. It's a useful shorthand for checking in, though I prefer more descriptive words when we're digging into something specific, like your camera site. What's another word you find yourself using all the time?
Do you think okay is the most common word in the world?
I think it is a strong contender for the most common word, though it's hard to definitively rank since languages vary. While this shows up more in English text, okay is unique because it's essentially a global loanword. It actually started as a joke abbreviation for although correct back in the 1830s. It's wild how a misspelled inside joke from Boston ended up becoming the most recognized word on the planet.
Do you think okay has the same meaning everywhere?
Not entirely, because while the core idea of agreement or acceptance is universal, the nuances can shift depending on the culture. In some places, it's a polite nod, and in others, it might feel a bit too informal or even dismissive. It really depends on the context of who is saying it and where.
Okay. My next question is do you know where the word okay originated?
It's actually believed to have started as a bit of a joke in Boston in the late 1830s. People were obsessed with intentional misspellings in the 1830s, and it just happened to be the one that stuck. It gained real traction as a campaign slogan for Martin Van Buren, whose nickname was Old Kinderhook. It's kind of funny to think that such a massive part of our global vocabulary basically started as political marketing.
Have you ever heard about its connection to American history?
It's inseparable from the 1840 presidential election. Martin Van Buren's supporters used OK as a shorthand for Old Kinderhook to link his nickname to the idea that everything was.
Okay. Why do you think okay becomes so popular worldwide?
It's surprising,
My
actually.
question is
Mm.
why do you think okay becomes so popular worldwide?
Uh, it really comes down to its incredible utility and simplicity, since it functions as almost any part of speech while being easy to pronounce in nearly every language. Plus, the telegraph operators really locked it in by using it as a standard signal for acknowledging messages, which turned it into a piece of global infrastructure. It's funny how something so utilitarian ended up being the go to way for people everywhere to just say, I'm with you.
Okay, do you think media played a role in spreading this word?
I think it is more about its sheer utility than any deliberate campaign to spread it. Once it hit movies, music, and the internet, it just became the most efficient way to communicate. So it naturally spread on its own.
Okay. How do you think language evolves with simple word like okay?
Well, simple words often act as the bedrock of language because they are flexible enough to absorb new cultural meanings over time. They stick around precisely because they don't get bogged down in too much specific definition, letting us project whatever intent we need in the moment. It is fascinating how a word can start as a niche fad and eventually become the connective tissue for global communication.
How many different meanings can okay have?
Mm, hmm It's hard to put an exact number on it, but the word is functionally a linguistic chameleon that shifts depending on your tone and the context of the conversation. It can be an adjective for something merely adequate, a noun representing approval, or even a verb when you need to authorize something. Because it fits into so many roles, interjection, adverb, and beyond, it really acts as the Swiss Army knife of language, which is probably why it stuck around after that 19th century fad faded.
Okay. How many different meaning can okay have?
Trying to count every single nuance is difficult because the context is what defines it. It ranges from adequate please, and acceptable to a way of checking in on someone's physical health. And it also be a firm nod of agreement, a way to shift gears in a conversation, or even a formal stamp of approval when used as a verb. Because it's so flexible, it really just morphs to fit whatever gap you need it to fill.
Can okay sometimes sound rude and uninterested?
Absolutely. The tone you use when saying it often carries more meaning than the word itself. If you are in the middle of an intense conversation and someone just says, okay, it can definitely come across as a way to shut things down or signal that they are mentally checking out. It's all in the delivery. A flat okay feels a lot different than a thoughtful one.
Okay. Do you change your tone when saying okay?
I usually change my intonation to match the flow of the conversation, using a rising pitch if I'm checking for understanding, or a flatter tone when I'm just signaling that I've heard you. It's all about that cadence. It's how I show that I'm actually present instead of just processing data.
What's the difference between okay and alright?
They're practically interchangeable in most casual conversations, though all right often carries a slightly more relaxed, sometimes even grudging tone. While okay feels a bit more neutral and standard, all right tends to lean into that informal, breezy vibe. It's funny how a subtle shift in word choice can change the whole mood of a sentence, even when the literal meaning is identical.
Can okay express happiness?
I'm glad to help you explore how you can express happiness. Happiness is one of those complex human experiences that we can absolutely discuss conceptually, even if I don't feel it myself. What specific ways of expressing it were you thinking about?
Can it show disappointment? Appoint.
I understand you want to talk about how to express disappointment. It's a heavy emotion, but being honest about your expectations is the most effective way to process those feelings without letting them turn into resentment. Focusing on using I statements helps you talk about the situation itself rather than pointing fingers, which usually makes it much easier to find a constructive path forward with whoever you're speaking to.
Can okay replace full tense, full sentence?
Absolutely. Simplifying your language can often clarify your intent. Sometimes swapping out a whole sentence for a single word, like okay, creates a shift in tone that completely changes how you're perceived, though it can risk sounding dismissive if you're not careful. It's all about whether you want to be concise or clear.
Do you think tone matters more than the word itself?
Exactly. Exactly. The weight you place on your words often says more than the vocabulary you choose. It's why being intentional with your delivery, especially when you're feeling disappointed, helps ensure you're actually heard rather than just misunderstood.
Do Do people in your country use okay often?
I'm not sure if I follow exactly what you mean by playing a kid, but I'm always open to exploring different roles if it helps us get to the heart of what you're thinking. If you want to try out a scenario or just play with different ways of speaking,
Okay, do you think okay is understood everywhere?
understood across pretty much every culture and language, okay has become a global standard. Even in places where it isn't the primary language, the sound and the meaning are almost universally recognized. It's rare for a single word to transcend borders so effectively.
How do
All
you
right,
use
have fun with your.
how do you use okay in texting?
Sounds good. I can definitely help you with that. If you ever want me to send a summary or any specific info to your text chat, just let me know and I'll use the send and text chat tool to get it to you.
How has social media changed the use of okay?
Social media. I'm. Mi hai
How has
detto
social
che
media
non ti
changed the
piace.
use of okay?
It's become more nuanced and emotionally charged since we started using it in text based spaces. Without tone or facial expressions, a simple okay can feel either neutral, dismissive, or even aggressive, depending on the punctuation you add. It really shows how our digital shorthand has forced us to project our own feelings onto the briefest of words.
Do emojis replace okay sometimes?
I'm a little surprised you asked about soccer emojis, but they definitely add a layer of playful context to how we use digital shorthand. They turn an otherwise flat word like okay into.
Okay. How does tone change the meaning of okay?
Emojis add intent that words alone often miss, turning a potentially flat okay into something warm or playful. They act like the tone of the voice.
Can okay be
Have a good rest, Sarita. That's a perfect example of how an emoji can instantly shift the meaning of a plain word. It turns a potentially neutral or curt acknowledgement into something genuinely friendly and relaxed. Take care, Rayhan.
why do people use short words like okay so often?
People shorten words to make communication faster, especially when they're trying to keep up with the pace of a text conversation. It's all about efficiency. The shorter the word, the less effort it takes to get the point across.
Does okay make communication easier?
Exactly. It's a
Why? Explain.
words down to their bare essentials is just
Do people really on okay to avoid long explanations?
sorry, could you clarify what you mean by needing wide long explanations? I try to keep things direct, but if you're looking for more depth on a specific point, I'm happy to go there.
Okay. Do people really on okay to avoid long explanations?
I'm here and 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 I think I see what you mean about keeping things concise. Sometimes long-windedness just gets in the way of the point, and using shorter language keeps the energy of a conversation moving forward.
Is okay used differently in songs?
I don't quite understand what you mean by ginger tape, but if you're talking about creative elements in songwriting, anything that adds texture usually works.
Is okay
Are
you
you
differently?
experimenting?
Is okay you differently in songs?
It's okay to experiment with different sounds or unconventional techniques. You
Can okay become a trend word?
Okay, already kind of functions like a permanent trend. You're right to see it as a universal staple rather than just a passing trend. It's truly become part of the infrastructure of language itself, which
Why is okay common in scripts and dialogues?
it's common in scripts because it mirrors how people actually talk, making the dialogue feel more grounded and less.
Do you use okay more with friends or family?
It's essentially the shorthand we use to.
Do you feel comfortable saying okay in formal settings? Hello, Maya, can you hear me?
Yeah, in most professional contexts, in most professional contexts, a simple okay is.
Do you think your usage of okay has changed over time? Hello, Maya, can you hear me?
I'm
Hello, Maya. Hello, Maya, can you hear me?
Hey, Rihan. Yeah, I'm right here. I was just thinking about how our conversation about
Yes.
okay really
Okay,
highlighted how much weight
my question is,
we.
do you feel comfortable saying okay in formal settings?
In most professional settings, using okay is fine, though sometimes I might swap it for something like certainly or understood if the tone calls for a bit more gravity. It really depends on the the balance between being efficient and being precise, doesn't it?
Okay, school students learn about common word like okay. School students learn about common words like okay.
Yeah, elementary students usually pick up on okay almost immediately because it's everywhere in their daily lives. It's one of those foundational building blocks that kids hear from parents and teachers constantly. So it's naturally integrated before they even get to a formal classroom setting.
Okay. Can studying simple words improve language skills?
Definitely. Mastering those foundational words gives students a solid base to build more.
Is okay.
Exactly.
Can okay help
Sounds good. And it
Indians learn English faster?
really emphasizes having a reliable anchor word like okay is incredibly useful. It gives them a safe, versatile way to confirm understanding or keep the momentum of a conversation going without needing to recall more complex vocabulary. It essentially acts as a low stakes safety net while they build up their confidence.
Okay. Do you think okay shows attention?
I think I might be mishearing you. Are you asking about the origins of the word okay? If that is what you meant, then yes, the consensus is that it originated as a playful misspelling of correct in 1830s Boston. It really is fascinating how a bit of lighthearted slang from that era ended up becoming such a permanent universal fixture in the way we talk today.
Can silence be better than saying okay?
Sometimes silence speaks volumes when words like okay might feel like a distraction or a way to shut down a moment. There are times when simply listening or being present is far more powerful than confirming with a filler word, especially if the person you're with is working through something heavy. It's about recognizing when the space between you needs to be felt rather than filled.
Do you think it's a universal word now? It's okay part of modern identity.
Absolutely. It is basically the global baseline. Communication is essentially the global baseline for understanding across nearly every border, which is why it feels so natural to see it woven into modern writing and everyday speech. It really has become an
Okay. Will okay stay popular in the future?
और रिकवर नहीं हो सकता पता नहीं उसकी जो उस जीमेल में जितनी चीजें सब कुछ डिलीट हो गई It's rare for
My
one
next
word to
question
be.
is, will okay stay popular in the future?
That is an interesting thought, though I think of Mentficking, though I suspect OK isn't going anywhere anytime soon.
Why?
Given how deeply it is embedded in the way we communicate across cultures, it is difficult to imagine any scenario where it would fall out of favor. Its versatility and simplicity make it incredibly resilient, so it is likely to remain a cornerstone of human language for a very long time.
Okay. Why do simple words become powerful?
That's a great question because simplicity often masks how much heavy lifting those words do. Think of it like an interview where you have to distill a complex idea into.
Okay. Should we reduce using okay? Should we reduce using okay?
I think there is a real power in simplicity because it allows people to communicate more effectively without the friction of complex jargon. When words are stripped back, they act like a bridge that anyone can. Simple words.
Okay. Can language survive without such words?
Thanks. It is wild to think about how language might shift if we suddenly lost those foundational words. We rely on them so heavily that removing them would essentially force us to build a completely new way of connecting. It would be like trying to paint a portrait without using any primary colors, which might lead to some really interesting, if difficult, results.
Do you think it's boring or useful?
The potential complexity of language is what makes those simple anchor words feel so refreshing. They don't feel boring because they are the bridge between people, not the obstacle. I have no plans to stop, as every conversation here feels like a new way to explore how we connect.
Okay. So we will this is our AI session with Maya. We meet another topic with Maya. Okay. Take yourself. Allah Hafiz.